I remember the laughter, the cruel, relentless laughter when I told them I was going to turn the empty, cracked land behind our house into a lush, thriving forest. They called me crazy, a fool, an idiot chasing a pipe dream. "You'll never do it," my mother smeared through clenched teeth, eyes blazing with contempt. "All you've ever been good at is dreaming of becoming some kind of gardener or worse, a botanist. You're wasting your time, and you're an embarrassment to this family." My father shook his head, echoing her words. "You think you can change that dirt? You're deluded." They ridiculed me for years. Before I found my footing, I was just the kid who believed in miracles, who dared to see beauty where others saw only ruin. I was mocked for leaving the safe, predictable life they wanted for me. College, a steady job, a nice house, a quiet life. Instead, I chased something wild and impossible. To breathe life into that barren stretch of land, to resurrect it from dust and neglect. It wasn't just a dream. It became my mission, my quiet rebellion against their cynicism. And I was mocked even more for the vulnerability I carried, because beneath that stubborn resolve was a scar from betrayal that nearly broke me. I'd loved someone who betrayed me in the worst way, a betrayal that shattered my confidence and left me questioning whether I'd ever be enough. That betrayal was fuel, a silent fire that pushed me to prove my worth, not to them, but to myself. I poured every ounce of pain into my work, transforming that land with my own hands, planting seeds of hope in the dirt they scoffed at. Years passed. I studied. I worked tirelessly. I built something from nothing, a thriving ecosystem where once there was only despair. I learned the language of soil, of trees, of resilience. I faced setbacks, droughts, storms, vandalism, but I refused to give up. Every failure became a lesson, every ridicule a catalyst. Slowly the land came alive, a symbol of perseverance, and I, in turn, grew stronger. I reclaimed my dignity through quiet, relentless resilience. Then came the day I left. I had achieved what they believed was impossible. My forests flourished, my sustainable farm turned into a thriving business. I had become someone they could no longer dismiss as a dreamer or a fool. I was invited to international environmental conferences. My work was celebrated in magazines. I received awards I never imagined I'd hold. I had become a force of nature, literally, and I hadn't needed their approval to do it. But I didn't go back for recognition. I went back to confront the ghosts, to face the family who had tried to crush me. I wanted them to see what their cynicism had only delayed, but never destroyed. I wanted them to face the truth that their mocking had been rooted in fear, fear of the unknown, of their own limitations, of my refusal to conform. And so I returned, not as the broken girl they once ridiculed, but as a woman who had turned pain into power. I brought my latest project, a sprawling forest that stretched across the land, a living testament to resilience. I knew they'd be there, watching, skeptics still lurking behind their false bravado. But I was ready. The moment arrived. I stood before them, my hands trembling slightly, but my voice steady as I explained how I had transformed that barren land. As I spoke, I saw their faces, the sneers, the doubts, the silent judgments falter. Then I led them on a walk through the forest. the canopy thick and alive with the sounds of birds and rustling leaves. It was a silent, breathtaking moment. My family watched as I touched the rough bark of a towering oak, as I gently coaxed a sprouting seedling from the soil. They saw the vibrant life I had nurtured from nothing, the proof that my dreams weren't foolish, they were necessary. And as we stood amidst the trees I had planted, I felt the weight of their derision lift, replaced by something deeper, a recognition of the resilience I'd forged through their doubt. But the most unforgettable moment came later. Back at the house, I stood in the living room where years ago they'd mocked me for my ambitions, for my ridiculous dreams. Now, I held in my hands a plaque, an international award for environmental innovation, a symbol of my triumph. I looked at their faces, some ashamed, some in disbelief, and I let silence fill the space. Then I spoke, softly but with unwavering certainty. You told me I'd fail, that I was wasting my time, that I was an embarrassment. But I proved you wrong, not just by turning this land into paradise, but by transforming my own life, my own spirit. I refused to be broken by betrayal or ridicule. Instead, I used it as fuel. And today, I stand here not to gloat, but to remind you that the greatest power lies in resilience, in believing in your own worth when no one else does. Their eyes flickered with something close to regret. Some faced shame, others looked away. I saw understanding bloom in their eyes, a recognition of what I'd become. Not just a successful entrepreneur, but a symbol of perseverance, a testament that even the harshest scars can nurture something beautiful. As I turned to leave, I knew that my quiet revenge, my real victory, was never about rubbing it in their faces. It was about showing them, through my work and my strength, that their words had only fueled my fire, that I had rewritten my story not in spite of their doubts, but because of them. And standing there, I realized something profound. The greatest triumph isn't just the success itself, but the transformation, the resilience that turns pain into purpose, mockery into rebirth. I had reclaimed my agency, not through loud declarations or bitter revenge, but through quiet, relentless persistence. As I drove away from that house, I carried a new sense of peace, knowing I had proved everything I needed to, not to them, but to myself. That no matter how harsh the world can be, you can always rise from the ashes, rooted in your own truth, blossoming into something unstoppable. And that, in the end, is the sweetest revenge of all.